But why doesn't gravity hold air in the shoebox?
Because the shoe doesn't have enough gravity.
Hi YouTube. You may remember back in November of last year, long-time flatty Waykiwayki uploaded a video where he doorstepped a world-renowned astrophysicist with moronic and incoherent flat earth questions. Our first offering this week is inspired by that video. You'll have to listen carefully at the start as the sound is a bit crap, but it does improve. The graphics etc are part of the original video and are not mine. Take a look at Flat Earth Boxer in action.
The question is, given the popular heliocentric model, what experiments do you know of that evidence that the Earth is currently moving at an average speed of 66,000 miles per hour, or Mach 88 in an elliptical orbit around the Sun, or spinning at an almost twice the speed of sound, or moving in any way at all consistent with the proclamations of the widely accepted heliocentric model?
I'm not an astronomer.
Would that be a no? You don't know of any?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm not an astronomer.
Is that a no? Okay. So the last one, the third one, I guess, in the interest of everyone's time.
Okay.
Can you think of any experimental demonstrations of gas pressure without a barrier, or adjacent to a vacuum without a solid barrier?
Okay. So I'm not a statistical.
Are you a physicist?
Marginally.
Okay.
I'm on board.
Can you think of any experiments today that you can do today that can distinguish gravity as a force as distinct from the effects of density and buoyancy and fluid medium?
So I'm not a fluid mechanics,
A physicist, though.
Maybe, I don't know. You have to ask my advisor.
This is the physics department.
I think you can ask the crowd.
A physicist doesn't have to know
It
everything.
doesn't have to. I just wanted to see if you knew any of the questions.
Because it's very specialized questions that you're asking. You should go to, very
Dr. Bogosian.
Hi.
Kyrie, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So, Mr. Vataspati, or Dr.
Yes.
Vataspati, he's recommended. So I've come to 2 or 3 of these cosmology colloquiums,
Yeah.
and I've asked these 2 questions, and he's recommended that I ask a cosmologist these questions because
Okay.
the physicist prior could not answer them.
Okay.
The first question is, and this is perfect because you do test of gravity.
Yeah.
What experiment have you come up with that, or have you discovered or seen that evidences the existence of a force called gravity, which as distinct from the effects of density and buoyancy in a medium?
What evidence there is for gravity?
In the experimental, as distinct from the effects of density and buoyancy in a medium.
The fact that planets move around, lots of evidence.
So I meant experimental evidence. So
That's experiment.
what's the independent variable in that experiment?
Okay, I guess you could look at different
Or control.
samples. I mean, you can drop things in a vacuum.
So things are more dense than zero. I mean, so a vacuum there's a zero medium, so everything's
You can
equally
drop
more dense.
objects.
As
You
distinct-
just take a room,
Yeah.
evacuate the air, and drop
Right.
things, and then they all fall the same.
Equally more dense than nothing, right? They're both equally, so it's distinct from the effects of density and buoyancy.
Yeah.
So gravity is a force that's
Yes.
it has nothing to do with density and buoyancy, right?
Yes.
It exists there whether or not.
Yes,
Right. So when things fall in a medium,
Yes.
it's because they're equally more dense than nothing. In a vacuum, they're equally more dense than nothing. That's why they fall at the same rate. So the question is more as distinct from the effects of density and buoyancy.
Yeah.
If no, that's fine too.
I'm not sure I can add more than I said.
Then the second question
Yeah.
is, so your cosmology depends upon, so the second law of thermodynamics stipulates that you can't have a gas pressure system in the midst of a vacuum. Like a high pressure always goes to low pressure.
Yes, that's true.
So has it been brought up within the field of cosmology that the heliocentric cosmology depends upon a violation of the second law of thermodynamics?
What
in
is
order
a heliocentric? Is it
The heliocentric model being
around the Earth?
heliocentric means, or let's say the cosmological model assumed within the parameters of the general relativity theory, whatever you decide is the center of the universe. But normally you have gas composed stars in the middle of a vacuum. So
So yes, you're right. So if you have gas, it would
Right.
expand into the vacuum. Absolutely.
So do you know of any demonstrations of gas pressure in the middle of a vacuum without a solid barrier between the two?
No.
So would it be true to say that the cosmological model that underpins the assumptions of the popular cosmology, whatever it is, depends upon a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, which is
No,
not demonstrable.
because there is no. It's not like we're putting. It's first, the universe doesn't have a center,
Well,
it's
yeah,
infinite.
sure. Whether center or not.
and it's uniformly filled with radiation. So it's already equilibrated. So the gas has distributed itself throughout all of the volume of the universe.
Okay, so is that possible to demonstrate, let's say, gas pressure adjacent to a vacuum without a barrier between the two? Is that demonstrable in any way?
I'm not sure.
Let's say I have a
understand the
pressurized.
meaning.
Let's say I have a pressurized shoebox inside of a vacuum. I poke a hole inside that shoebox. Is there any way to demonstrate air not going into the vacuum and staying inside the box, as opposed to?
I don't think so. As you, I think you're absolutely right. If you poke a hole, it will go out. I know. I can't think of unless you just put the shoe inside a very dense, much denser gas or something like
but
that,
would
or put
not
it
be
inside
possible, right?
like water or something. I don't know.
So it's true to say you can't have gas pressure in the midst of a vacuum without a solid container.
Yes,
Okay, so how is it the case that we have atmosphere on Earth without a solid container?
because it's attracted to the Earth.
Via gravity,
By
right?
the gravity.
But why doesn't gravity hold air in the shoebox?
Because the shoe doesn't have enough gravity.
The Earth presumably does.
Earth has a lot of gravity.
The Earth
and
is
shoe
inside.
and the shoe doesn't.
So why doesn't Earth's gravity hold the air inside the box?
Because, sorry,
Why doesn't Earth's gravity hold the air inside of the shoebox, which is in the midst of a vacuum?
because the gas has pressure. So it has pressure and it just.
It just goes out into the
Yeah.
vacuum.
Sorry,
I'm just saying.
I have people waiting and I need to go.
Got it. All right.
You think supermassive black?
So there you have it. Now you know what happens when you take basic flat Earth and thermodynamic and cosmological questions to top physicists and astrophysicists and cosmologists at various universities, whether they be that of Carnegie Mellon University in the case of Ira A. Rothstein, or in the case of Simon Fraser University, which is the home of Dr. Pagosian, a specialist in cosmological tests for gravity. When asked questions of the kind which should be very simple to answer, pertaining to gravity and gas pressure in a vacuum, professors of this high status either resort to snark, evasion, or are simply flabbergasted and have never been asked by anyone any of these questions. So this should give you resolve and comfort to know that there's not much to it. So I encourage you guys, if universities ever open out, for you guys to just go out and visit any open lecture you can and present these exact kinds of questions to your local professor. All right, if you like that, like, share, and subscribe.